Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day, there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to be talking about something that all businesses are finally realizing they have got to do, and that's video, for a variety of reasons. But we're going to have a great discussion today about, more importantly, how do you make money doing it? So please join me in welcoming Bob Bowdon to our program today. Welcome, Bob. How are you?
Thanks, Deb. I'm great, and it's nice to be with you.
Perfect. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So Bob Bowdon is the founder of VidaFair. He has his mechanical engineering bachelor's degree from Purdue and his engineering management master's degree from Stanford. Clearly a smart dude, right?
If we're going back that far, this is
I know.
This is the caveman era.
Yes,
archaeology.
Yeah. But Bob has been a television professional for 18 years, including entertainment and talk shows. He was a reporter for Bloomberg Television, host, executive producer for American Public Television, as well as, now I love this, and we got to talk about this more, on-camera comedy reporter for the Onion News Network. I always laugh when people thought it was real, right?
America's finest news source.
Yes. Additionally, he is a documentary filmmaker of The Cartel about corruption in public education, which was a winner of 12 film festival awards, and its national theatrical release and distribution by Warner Brothers and Netflix. So again, Bob, welcome.
Thanks. If there are any listeners left after that long introduction, I wasn't sure I would have read all of it to them, but nevertheless, thank you.
It's fun. You know, I've had people who've sent me a sentence and people who've sent me 7 pages. Really?
Oh, wow.
I was like, no. But what it showed me was, oh my gosh, have you had a varied career, right? How did you get from engineering to television, film, and video production?
Well, I quit my job. That was step one. Mm-hmm. and then I said, well, I need something to do right now, but I wanted to be more creative. So I went to a certificate film program at NYU, which was a 1-semester intensive film program. It wasn't a fancy degree or master's in film or something. It was just a certificate. But nevertheless, that gave me something tangible to go to after having engineering and then marketing, professional jobs. And so after that, I'll tell you this little story. I then went to Europe on a kind of a Eurail pass, as kind of a 20-something kid traveling around, just kind of sowing my wild oats, so to speak. And I happened upon the Cannes Film Festival that was happening. I didn't even know it was going to be happening when I was there, but suddenly I show up, there it is. So they have all these booths out to market the new films because they all want to be picked up by distributors, et cetera.
Right.
And so I said, this is a thing I could do. I could go up and ask people at the booth if they know anyone in New York who could give me a job. Okay, let's do that. So I went up.
Ultimate networking.
I know, right? I'm like, hey, you're American. Most of them are Americans, by the way. They're in France at the Cannes Film Festival. So I'm like, hey, do you know anyone with any jobs in New York? And they're like, no, pretty much kind of go away, implied, And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me go over to this booth. And then I'm like, do you know anybody? And they're like, no. How about this booth? Do you anyone? No. Then it was like, do you know any? No. Do you know? No. Do you know? No. And it became a game. I ended up going to dozens and dozens of booths at the Cannes Film Festival. No. I'm like, okay. Each time. And then I'm like, do you know? And someone's like, oh, yeah, I have a friend in New York. And I'm like, what?
You started to walk away, right?
Right. And then it's like I'm practically walking away. And then I'm like, wait, what did you just say? Yes. And I had to turn around. Then I went back and I got this phone number and then I kept it. And then I'm back in America a month later or so. And I'm like, getting out this phone number, now pretending like this person was my good friend. Oh, we're both friends with, I'm reading it off to Angela, whatever.
Yes.
Like, as if I know this person. Anyway, so they're like, yeah, come on by for an interview. And I ended up getting a job with New Line Cinema as a location scout for a new feature film that was coming out. So they had to find locations to shoot the various scenes in the movies, like grocery stores and bars and apartments and whatnot. So that's how I got started. I started with, something like 3 dozen no's before I got a yes.
But that's life, right? If we don't ask, we can't ever get the yes. And I think that's what holds so many people back, because we're afraid that we're going to get the no. Well, and the no was not, you're a horrible, awful person. The no was, we just don't know anybody.
And I couldn't blame myself for those no's, because they knew nothing else about me except that I'd asked the question.
Yeah. But I mean, how many times have we just not done something, not asked, because we're afraid of the response? And let's be honest, sometimes we're afraid the response is going to be yes, and then it's going to be, oh crap, now what do I do? So you've been in this industry for a long time, and 18 years. That's what I said in your bio, right? And you decided to start VidaFair. Tell us what the heck that is.
Well, it's simply a way to make money from video.
Okay.
So when I say video, it's almost any kind of video. It could be podcasts, it could be independent film, it could be comedians with videos of their stand-up performances, it could be something else like a yoga instruction video, or a music video that musicians have, their latest song they have shot a video for. So if you understand Airbnb, it's kind of a content version of that. So in Airbnb, you set your own price to rent out a condo, for example, that you have. Here, you're just setting your own price to rent content to people who might be your social media followers. And so you can send a link to them and they can pay you to watch that content. Or it could be, you can put it on the same link on websites or an email blast. You can even advertise this link. And so advertising online is so easy and cheap these days. Sometimes people hear that and they think in terms of like an old school advertising, like a Mad Men style thing.
Right.
Where you need
they cost thousands of dollars. Right.
Right. In fact, no, for $10, you can put an ad in Google search. You can advertise in Instagram or X or, many online platforms. And that way you can get, for about, a rule of thumb is for about $10, you can get your link and your ad seen by 1,000 people. And so all you need to do is, if you can somehow make $11 out of that $10 investment for advertising it, you can scale. You then got a profitable engine to do a lot more than just the $10. And so that's the point. If you can set your own price on renting a video that you've created, maybe you decide you want $2 for everyone who rents it, or $1 or 50 cents. Or maybe you decide you want $4, I don't know, for everyone who rents your video. The point is you don't need very many rentals from that, say, for example, those 1,000 eyeballs to then cover the price you might have spent on the ad, which I've gotten a little bit into the weeds already, but I think you get the idea.
Right. Well, and you've got a great explanation video called, let's see, what is it? Oh, Monetization Deep Dive. I think that is the one that, but my first question really is, so you're going up against YouTube and Vimeo, and I mean, YouTube is the biggest in the world because, of course, they're owned by Google. Now, it'll be interesting. The government may say they have to split off too, but who knows? But why would you decide, hey, you're going to go up against a very well-established market?
Well, it's to answer a need that we thought was real. So the first quick thing to understand is there are about 3.5 forms of monetization, I would say, if you'll indulge that sort of a jokey point. But so there's advertiser-based monetization where the money comes through ads. There's subscription-based monetization where people have to subscribe to watch the thing. And then there's what we call what's called TVOD in the modern area, what used to be called pay-per-view style monetization.
So TV on demand?
It's on demand. It's Right. Well, right. It's traditional video on demand is what the
Okay.
TVOD stands for.
Hmm.
But the point is simply that you don't have to subscribe. It's a
Hmm.
one-time payment,
Hmm.
and you actually pay. It's not you
Hmm.
don't watch an ad. You actually
Right.
pay.
Hmm.
So the fourth, I say three and a half kinds. The fourth kind is just donation-based
Hmm.
advertising, but that's kind of a different
Hmm.
category. Anyway,
Right.
those are really the four kinds of
Hmm.
ways to
Hmm.
monetize video. And when I say we did it to fulfill a need, I'm quite serious about this. Like, in other words, if you're on YouTube, you start out by saying, why would you go against YouTube?
Hmm.
Well, if you're a content creator on YouTube and you are lucky enough to be monetized,
Hmm.
you're getting on average 2/10 of one
Hmm.
penny per
Hmm.
view.
Hmm.
That's what you get because advertising monetization is very, very
Hmm.
small. The advertisers aren't paying that much money
Right.
to get in front of,
Hmm.
as I just pointed out a second ago, advertising
Hmm.
your link, it can be
Hmm.
very inexpensive to
Hmm.
get seen by a lot of people.
Right.
So that means if you're the content creator in on YouTube,
Hmm.
you're getting 2/10 of one penny per view.
Hmm.
When on our platform, let's say you even just got $1 per view,
Hmm.
which is, a reasonable fee for a lot of kinds of
Hmm.
content. Ask people to pay $1. Oh, you're my
Right.
social media follower. How
Hmm.
about you pay $1 and watch this?
Hmm.
So the point being that $1 is already it's already 500
Hmm.
times the revenue per
Hmm.
view if you compare it to 2/10 of
Hmm.
one penny.
Right.
500 times the
Hmm.
revenue per view.
Hmm.
So the reason that I say there's a need is because by sending, you can set a very low a price that
Hmm.
most of your followers and friends and even
Hmm.
people to whom you advertise will see as a fair
Hmm.
price. Oh,
Right.
dollar. Okay, I
Hmm.
see what this is. They sent me a little sample. I
Hmm.
can see the sample.
Hmm.
$1 doesn't seem like, a lot of
Hmm.
people don't even, if they're ordering a beer at a bar, they don't even
Right.
bother to ask the price of the
Right.
beer
They
because if
just
it's a
they
dollar
want the
more, a
beer.
dollar
Hmm.
less, or
Hmm.
$3 more, they don't even
Hmm.
care. Like it's a small enough
Hmm.
money that a lot of us don't even bother to care
Hmm.
if that's the difference in our
Hmm.
restaurant check.
Hmm.
So the idea that you can ask of what will be perceived as a very fair price for
Hmm.
content on our platform,
Hmm.
and get people to say yes to renting it,
Hmm.
while at the same time making vastly more than you'd ever make on
Hmm.
YouTube.
Right. Well, and there's, as of right now, lots of restrictions and rules and all of those various things with the other guys. I mean, and that's kind of understandable. They need those things. But they're also so big that it's incredibly easy to get lost, right? You're just one of this tiny little pool to them. And and so it is. It's very easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Oh, and let me just spend a second on that too, because
Hmm.
that's a really interesting point. In that the sites that do have advertisers like
Hmm.
YouTube,
Hmm.
they don't. We were chatting a second about your radio career before,
Hmm.
I guess at some point, and how sometimes you don't want a certain advertiser
Hmm.
next to certain
Right.
content because
Hmm.
the advertiser may not
Hmm.
like it. Well, all the other side, the other
Hmm.
direction of that is the
Hmm.
content creators can be asked not to be controversial
Hmm.
because it will scare away
Hmm.
advertisers.
Right.
So if
Hmm.
you don't have an advertiser-based monetization, as
Hmm.
we don't,
Hmm.
you don't even get into that. So
Right.
we are
Hmm.
pretty much a free speech
Hmm.
platform. I say almost any kind of video because we
Hmm.
don't allow porn and we
Right.
don't allow a few other kinds of things like
Hmm.
copyright violations. You
Hmm.
can't just put someone else's movie up or something
Hmm.
like that, or you
Ah,
can't just
why can't
you
I
can't,
post the Lord of the Rings or
exactly. Let's monetize Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
So we have no doxing, we have no
Mhm.
child abuse, we
Mhm.
have and we have a few flags like that.
Mhm.
But
Right.
in general, we are a free speech platform
Mhm.
where we're not afraid of
Mhm.
controversial opinions in
Mhm.
either direction
Right. Mhm.
because the only people seeing it are those paying to see it.
Right.
They,
They
they choose to
wanted
pay.
to see it. Mhm.
Yes, yes. So it creates a it's a that's another reason. So one reason not to only rely on YouTube is you get a lot more money through
Mhm.
pay-per-view type
Mhm.
monetization.
Mhm.
Another reason is you don't get told what not to say.
Mhm. Right. And it's just so interesting, and so I was looking at the content that you have, and so tell us who a good customer is for you.
Well, it's a little interesting because we launched because you have to pick somewhere. The example I give is how Amazon started as a book
Right. You
selling
got to
platform.
start somewhere.
You
Mhm.
can't just say we're going to start out for everyone. So
Yes.
we started with the independent film world because
Okay.
that's kind of what my
Mhm.
background was,
Mhm.
and connections to film
Mhm.
festivals and independent film
Mhm.
distributors and whatnot. So that is mostly what you'll see right now on our
Right.
platform. Our
Mhm.
belief, though, is that the potential in the future is to be more of everything that would be on YouTube could be on VidaFair.
Right.
So that
Yeah, because I was looking. And so, yeah, I mean, you've got comedy, documentary, horror, suspense, all of the film things. And I was thinking, well, if it's a business type of video, it's going to come under other. Right?
We do have, yes, we have categories, but our category list is expanding all the time. So like if we started to get a lot of, let's say, investor advice,
so then you would have so it says like film fantasy, film sci-fi. So it might be business, investor, business, whatever,
entrepreneur, business, fundraising, business, how to go. I don't know. It's exactly. Yeah.
Business podcasts. Ooh.
Sure. Yeah. No, we do have a podcast item already, a category item.
No, not that I see. Where is it? Oh, anyhow. But
and I'll tell you this: it's there's also multiple ways to market. Even like say a podcast, for example. One way would be to have one half of the podcast for free on YouTube, and then it says thanks for watching. Give us
if you want to hear the rest of the story,
part 2, it's only $1.22 or whatever the price would be, and you could put that in your as a part 1 and part 2 method. Another way is to just do kind of a sample clip or trailer kind of thing, where you say, here's a little bit, here's like a tiny little portion of what will be in the full podcast if you were to rent it over here, and it's only this small price, and please support us, that kind of thing. So and then multiple other ways. There's kind of a behind the scenes style of like, here's the main thing for free, but here's where we are kind of after hours, and we're doing some different style of content than within the main podcast. So there are different ways to market.
Right. And I don't monetize the business power hour. I do not want to deal with having to get advertisers and then follow what they say and have to say, well, now, Bob, we'll be back after this short, because I don't want to have to remember that I have to build in breaks, and all of those things. And so I've never monetized it. But, this is a great way to be thinking about this, because it could be just, we do the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and if you're interested in the rest, here's where to go. And it's $1.
It's up to you. It's up to you. We want to put the power in the creator's hands.
Right.
They set their own creator fee. They decide how much to give away for free, which they don't have to give any away for free. They could give away a lot of it for free. It's up, it's up to them. We want to just create a marketplace and then let whatever works best. Different kinds of content won't fit the same paradigm. So why should we impose it?
I love that. And from the consumer's perspective, it's very easy to watch these videos. They can either buy grains, and we'll talk about that, or they can just pay the 99 cents or whatever it is that you're charging. So talk to us about the grains. I love that. I thought that was a fun concept.
Thank you. Well, it's basically tokens. We now call it grain tokens more because people get confused that it's just an internet token that would be found on lots of other platforms. But we just thought...
The credit.
It's a credit. It's a way. So it turns out when you're doing micropayment type transactions online, the U.S. banking system was never designed for micropayment transactions.
Right.
So they have minimum fees on credit card charges, for example, that turn out to be large percentages. If the entire fee is only 99 cents and you charge that on a credit, it's like a lot of times takeout restaurants will say, if you're going to use a credit card, it's a minimum $15
it's got to be,
person.
Otherwise we're in the hole.
Exactly. So it's because of that, we realize there are two kinds of customers. There are ones who just want to just pay one price and not be asked any complicated questions about anything. They don't have to learn about grain tokens or anything else. Can I just pay and that's it? Why is it so complicated? There's those kind of customers. And so, yes, we want to serve them by giving them a simple one-time price.
Right.
There's also the kind that want to spend the least possible. And if we can distribute the financial transaction fee across many rentals, and so you can buy our grain token packages for $6 or $11 or $20, it takes that one transaction fee. If I buy $20 worth today, I only spend one financial I only charge, it only costs one financial transaction fee, which gets spread across many rentals. So we can charge much less per rental if we buy a package.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Now, can people subscribe? So podcast would be a great example. So they get a notice each time a new podcast episode drops. Is that an option that you have right now?
Not currently, but it's a great idea. And right now we're kind of
I'll be charging you for that.
That is right. We probably should. That's an even better idea. No, and so, right now it's assumed that the content creator themselves wants to tell all their followers, here,
had this great chat with Bob, yada,
Yes,
yada.
That's right. But to the extent, yes, maybe some people might find the content just through our website and they are not already following the content creator. And so that's a good idea. Why not be able to just all the people that have in the past either hit like or either rented some of the content, send out a blast and then allow them to opt out of it, by the way, too.
Right.
But if they want, they can opt in and receive notices, via email or something like that to say, you in the past rented this content from Deb. Deb has here's the link to Deb's new video.
I love it. And I'm looking through your list and they vary in length. Some are full feature length things. And some are foreign. I'm like, I have no idea what this is because it's, but a huge variety. A rough
They
guess.
do all have English subtitles though. Even in the case of that's one thing we decided. We didn't want people to feel like, they rented something and now they can't, American audiences or Canadian or Australian or English speaking audiences.
Most people anymore at least know a smattering of English. But this one is Mon Dieu. Now I actually know what that is. That I did take that class. Then the next two I'm like, I have no idea what this is. But so we're recording this, it's the first part of December. About how many videos do you think you have?
It's around 500, so something like that. Yeah.
Fun. I love it. And again, a variety of prices. I mean, I'm seeing $2.99, $3.99. There's yours. Hey, I came across the Cartel, which you charge $3.99 for. And so I have to go in and watch that. But yeah, this is cheap, folks. I mean, this one is 99 cents.
You are supporting the creators, and we like to point that out as often as possible. And too often I forget, Deb. But the people need to understand most of the money with every rental, the vast majority is going directly to the creator who made the content. And so people, I think if they understand that, they view the payment differently than if they think they're paying some company that they've never heard of. No, you're actually paying the content creator.
Right. And I don't want to discuss the specifics as to how much, because that can change over the years and on all sorts of things. And people, they'll be watching this or listening to this years from now. So that's okay. But that's all in there. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, here's one. Are you a narcissist? Part two. Oh my gosh, there was a part one.
That's a part one, part two model, which actually we did to sort of as a demonstration of that model. So the part one, in fact, you click on the description, you'll see part one is for free on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Part two is, and they're roughly equal in length. Part two is, if you watch this on YouTube and you're kind of, if you're interested, in other words, it's up to you to rent part two.
Right. I love this as a format for indies, because there's so many that are produced that never get anywhere. And I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at one, these hands were made for knocking, and it's about a boxer, right? But it's won a whole bunch of awards. And so they've, of course, got those awards in there. But for other folks, and it could be, maybe this is a class production that they had to do. But then it might actually get noticed by somebody. And so this is good because you can tell somebody, hey, this was on this platform and I had 2,000 people that saw it. Or whatever. But yeah, I love this concept, and it's going to be interesting to see how it grows by adding business stuff. Just like we were saying, like monetizing podcasts. Maybe you make cakes and you can show people how to do them, or whatever it is. There's certainly lots of ways that I think people never even stop to think that they could be monetizing this.
Right. And at prices that your fans and followers will think is very fair. And at the same time, will make a lot of difference to you. So if 5,000 views on YouTube means essentially nothing to the person on YouTube. $5,001 payments to you means $5,000 to you.
Right.
That's to a lot of people, that's a pretty good amount of money for a particular video for whom the renters are all paying $1. I mean, so you think the renters just consider it completely fair, and now that content creator receives an amount of money that might help them out.
Right. And help them do their next project or pay for the one they just did.
Or pay for food, pay for rent, pay for this world in which
pay
we
for
live.
whatever. Now, can somebody watch something over and over again, or do they have to pay again?
Oh, well, so right now we have a 7-day rental. So that's how it works. Yeah.
Okay.
So we figured if at these price points, if someone, 6 months later decides they want to watch the same thing over again, they can pay another $1 or $2. They usually are not going to be like, wait a minute, I want to watch this again, and it's 14 months later. Like our view is like, maybe you can kick in a few more bucks then.
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking, the cake decorating. I might have to watch it 5 or 6 times to actually figure out what I'm doing.
That's true. Not a problem.
But at the same point, I'm going to do it over and over right then.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, wait, I missed that point. I need to go back. I need to, all of those things. So how else do you see, what do you see the future? How do you see this growing?
Well, I mean, hopefully we will, it's really getting, I think, to others. So while I love the independent film genre, and I myself was a documentary filmmaker to which you referred.
Award-winning.
Well, thank you. At the same time, it's not the most lucrative category of video because someone's going to put out maybe one a year, maybe one every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And so, whereas something like podcasts or comedy videos or music videos, there's a potential for much more production, basically, much more, many more projects. So that we hope. You say what for the future? What would we look for in the future would be to kind of move into those other categories and get better known in those spaces, where it's seen as if we are adding value by letting people make money for their work.
Right. I mean, there could be so many things, like one of the things that I see a lot of in the business world is people have done a TEDx talk. So how would that copyright work? Could they post it on YouTube. I have no idea how TEDx does their stuff. So I don't know if they could, post it there and then make money from it.
I'm not an expert on what their contracts call for. I do understand that TED is different than TEDx.
Right.
And there might be very different ownership provisions for those videos.
Right.
So you'd have to contact them to ask what their,
and it'd certainly be worth exploring. Because I mean, I've interviewed people on this podcast that have had their TEDx or their TED Talk viewed 1 million times.
Sure.
Okay. Even if, now if you got $1 from each of one of those, yay. Now
let me just be honest and fair. Like if you get 1 million views on YouTube that people are not paying for, odds are you wouldn't also get 1 million views.
Right.
You made people pay.
Right.
You're going to get less than whatever the number would be.
Right. Because we like free.
That's right. And there's always a place for free content. And there's certain kinds of content that people also, will watch for free. Like they're interested enough to watch it for free, but they're not interested enough to watch it for a payment. And so that's an interesting thing to think about. I mean, cute kids dancing tends to get a lot of free videos, watches on TikTok and YouTube. Not so many people want to pay for cute kids dancing.
Unless they know that cute kid. And then, they might do that.
But anyway, something like a TED Talk, however, people I think would pay for that, but probably a smaller number than would watch it for free. So, but the whole point is still, let's say, if you get even 1% of the 1 million views, that's still 10,000 views. If you're getting $1 each, that's not bad.
Right. That paid your rent if you're in New York.
I'm sorry?
That pays your rent if you're in New York.
Right. So exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it just, it's such an interesting concept and I've and you've done the research. I've never heard of anything like this, so I think this.
You referenced Vimeo before. That's kind of a competitor. Their space is very much film only, and they have a very different model. For example, to monetize on Vimeo, you have to be a pro level subscription, meaning you're paying $120 every year just to even have the right to put on Vimeo. And then they don't have a browse feature the way our site and our apps too, by the way. The VidaFair has an iPhone and Android apps. But we have a suggestion algorithm and we have suggestions every day on our homepage of videos that might be rented. Vimeo doesn't have that kind of that's more of a YouTube type thing that is not on Vimeo. So yeah, so by contrast, instead of $120 a year membership that you've got to be, for in our case to upload, you start with buying a $5.99 grain token package to get that can be your first pay for your first several uploads.
Right.
So that's not even probably what you'd pay for a sandwich at lunch.
Right.
And it's not recurring, which is, with the Vimeo membership is recurring.
Right.
So
yeah. You pay forever if you don't, and especially if you don't pay attention. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and there is the free versus paid discussion, that paid is more valuable, right? And I have this discussion with people who are planning special events or webinars, things like that, where if it's free, you're like, okay, I'll sign up, but I may not do it. I'm just going to sign up. But if I had to pay, I'm actually going to pay attention.
That is very true.
But yeah, I mean, I just did a big special event where we had and it was 6 days worth of event. Is a dog show. Very strange, right?
I wish my dog were here. My dog is a doggy daycare.
I know. So, I saw that you have a dog. And he's a philosopher, so that's even better. But yeah, so our welcome party, we make people register just so we have an idea on food, right? But we don't charge them, it's the welcome party. But we've discovered that, and this has pretty much been the way it's been for years, about half the number of people that registered actually show up. And so we contemplated, should we charge? And I thought there would probably be such an uprising that I wouldn't want to have to deal with it. And we were just going to charge like $5, just enough to basically cover, a little bit of their food. But we did decide not to do it. And so, but that might change because they see no value in it because they did not pay.
I would like you to try the other way. Now, you don't have to do what I'm saying, Deb. We're 1,000 miles away from each other. But I'm telling you, I remember years ago when I was working in New York at a TV network and I got some invite to an event. I'm like, this sounds like a good event. And I went and I went to sign up because I was going to go. And it said it had a $1 fee to sign up. $1 fee. Yep. And I'm like, well, who cares? It's $1. All right, whatever. If I don't go, who cares? So I sign up, I pay the $1. And I swear, when that day came,
you had skin in the game.
There was some psychologically different factor involved in my thinking about going. I'd already paid the $1. It sounds absurd. I don't even understand it myself as to why I was more motivated. But it changed how, and I went to the event. It changed how I thought about it. And that's kind of part of this journey of mine of like that micropayments ought to be a larger part of our, culture regarding all kinds
and
of
micro things. Really is it. I mean, we were thinking at the most charging $5 for people to attend the event.
Yeah. Same idea.
Yeah. And I mean, there were certainly like other things you had to pay for, the awards dinner, all that stuff. Now you could attend for free. And the way we work that is obviously you don't eat. Pay, eat. However, you could use the cash bar, and we got a cut from the cash bar. We had people who did that.
Look, the freemium is the word that people have made up. The term freemium. It means you give away some stuff and you charge for some stuff.
Right.
And that has become the online model that Patreon uses, by the way, which is another kind of competitors to ours. It's a subscription platform, and we are not. But it's not so much that Patreon is the freemium, but that content creators will say, here are my free YouTube videos. And then once a week, if you're a super fan, come over here to subscribe to my Patreon. So you create the sense on the part of the watcher or the viewer or the follower that, oh, well, I've gotten all this free content. So it's really, I'm paying pennies on the dollar to just, pay for this over here on the paywall. And that's analogous to the VidaFair model as well. It's just that we're not subscription based, we're pay-per-view based. But the same idea is that we encourage people to give away content for free. As you were explaining, giving away, your entry ticket for free. Because then they are more likely, once you've done that, to then pay for something else.
Right. And it's consumers change. I mean, it's always very bizarre to try and figure out consumer behavior, right? And just when you think you figured it out, they change. How rude of them. But yeah, we're all looking for other ways to make money, especially as a business. And so I love this idea, especially of like how-tos. You bought this, so now, here's how to use it. Here's how to do whatever. Because I think that, and again, you can do, the simple, quick, here's the basics as the free version, and then here's how to do it so you're not cutting off your thumb type of videos, right?
No, it's funny, when you first build a platform like this, you kind of like do it all, and I'm talking about myself, but like I'm so close to it, or the people that we worked on the team are so close to it, that we're like, well, of course you just do this, and then it's obvious, because it's hard
and
to
we're like,
step back
no,
and see from an objective. So we wanted to create a complete step-by-step video. Say, let's assume you know nothing, and you've come here, and all you know is our web address, VidaFair.com. Here's a video you can click on at the very top that just says, all right, create an account. Step one, go to this button,
watched that.
click here. You go to that button, click that, etc. Then you've created the account. Now it's time to upload your content. Here's where you set your own fee. To actually do it in front of people. We realized later that was important, because we got feedback and we listened.
Right. Yeah, because you understand it, but me, I would go, and so then of course when I go, I go to the next thing, because heaven forbid I admit that I don't know how to do it, because you're never going to do that. But yeah, and so I watched that video on how to, and my primary thought was, wow, this is easy.
Well, that's right. Especially once you're shown how to do it, I've given this example before, but like I have a motorcycle, and and I decided, I pay for my car to change the oil, but I'm like, on the motorcycle, I should change the oil myself. So
you can get to stuff a lot easier than you can on a car.
That's true too. Although you'd be surprised how much it's packed in. Anyway, but you get the owner's manual, it will give you like a bunch of text, but there's nothing like a video.
Right.
You put on the video, and this other guy is doing it on his motorcycle. He goes, now you take this bolt off using this wrench.
Right.
Then once it's loose, you then go to the video is so much clearer. So
and we can rewind it and watch it again, and rewind it and watch it again. Sure. And I mean, that's just kind of how we do stuff now with everything. Anytime I'm perplexed, I that's one of the things I search for is videos on how to do whatever it is. And it's all, and it doesn't matter. Maybe it's how to add this feature to a website, or, whatever. And the thing is, there's videos for it. I mean, somebody else has asked that question. I tell people there's no unique products or services anymore. Somebody's done at least a version of it. And whatever it is that you're doing, there's probably, a way to, a video out there to do it.
Let me be clear. I'm not against free videos. I'm a monetization video platform creator. I love YouTube. I watch YouTube all the time.
Right.
I think free content is part of how you market your paywall content. So as I said before, I'm all in on free on free content. And incidentally, one other thing, people who already have paywall content as a subscription-based Patreon, they could take the same content and put it as a VidaFair.
Right.
Paper. Let the viewer decide.
So people can subscribe or buy one at a time.
Or do I want to just rent the one?
Right.
And when you offer things for sale in more ways, you usually end up with more sales.
Yeah, because I'm at like TV programs, I might like the first 3 and then I go, and I don't watch it again. But yeah, I mean, all of those things. And so that's where, the more options consumers have, the better it is. Now it gets a little complicated when you're trying to manage all of that, but that's what technology does, and all of those things. But
a lot of times in the case of paywall content, people with Patreons, they've done 95.2% of the work, maybe 99% of the work by making the paywall content.
Right.
So to just reload it on another platform is
right. Not a big
not
deal.
very, it's a few percentage points beyond.
Right. And the other thing that even just 10 years ago, people used to say, oh my God, video is hard. Right. And now our cameras, our phones can do incredible video and incredible pictures. I mean, I was talking to my neighbor she is a professional photographer, wildlife photographer, and scenic. She says no weddings, no teenagers, none of that. But she was talking about the fact that when they did their most recent trip to like Grand Canyon and all that, she said she took her big camera and never got it out because her iPhone did enough for what her purpose was. And I think that's interesting. Like when I got my master's degree, it was a cohort program. So they told us, you take these classes, and we go, yes, right. We had no choice. And so one of the classes was video production. Now this is 20 years ago. Right. And so this was when it's still, you had the big cameras, right? And the control room had 900 buttons in it, of which you used 2, and all the monitors and all of this stuff. And I think that's how a lot of people still think stuff is done now. For big, true video productions, yes, that is, they do that. But for, my business video or, somebody's how to, or here's my yoga class, your phone is going to do, as long as you're mic'd right. I always tell people we can forgive bad video, but we got to have good audio.
It's a truism. Audio is much more important than video. Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because when I had to take that video class, I told the professor, I said, I'm never going to do this. This just, for whatever reason, it just didn't interest me at that point. And I said, so why, I turned into like the petulant child. So why do I have to take this? And he said, you're in communications. You're going to be managing communications departments, which will probably do video. You need to know at least if they're doing it right or wrong. And I went, oh, okay, that made sense. But yeah, we all hold video cameras in our hands every day that are good enough for what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I happen to be a camera nerd. I got to tell you, Deb, I love it. Like, I love the gear. I'm talking to you right now on a Sony A7R III with a Tamron 28-75 f2.8 lens, etc. In fact, this microphone is a Shure KSM 32. Yeah, KSM 32. So I do love the gear, but I'm not denying what you just said.
Right.
For a lot of purposes, phones work great.
Right. Or that, my microphone it's a big blue. It's a big blue Yeti, and it's blue. They just call it blue because it is blue, but there's lots of different Yetis. And all of those various things, but my lighting is not that good, but I know most people are not going to watch this. They're going to listen to it. It is still a podcast.
And you're lit fine. Please. Yeah. I as much as I love the gear, I'm pleased. I'm the first to say that the creativity matters much more than the gear will ever matter.
Right. And there's tricks. I show people this. I mean, this is one of my favorite tricks. Now, I have 2 giant monitors in front of me. And so I learned to change the display hue, color, whatever it is. Because so here's what it is normally. And for those who are listening, I turned it off, and all of a sudden I became like the ghost from Christmas past because it's this bright blue light. And so when I turn it on, it's a much warmer thing. And right there, I mean, that was, that cost me nothing to be able to do that. But that's just a simple little trick. Somebody else taught it to me. I can't take
Can we
credit
see
for
you
it.
do it right now?
Yeah, I'll do it again. I
wasn't looking at my screen.
So here is turned on and here is turned off.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Scary, right? And the funny thing is, it really is. It's a button, and it's in your display settings, and so it's very easy to change. But it is so simple anymore to be making an okay video, and even for an indie production. So maybe what you're doing is you're thinking, hey, I'm a student at whatever university. I can use my phone to create the initial video. Then when somebody goes, ooh, we're going to give you money, then you have the equipment, and things like that. And of course, I live in Atlanta, which is what Hollywood #2. And so, there's all that around here. But yeah, it's we carry in our hand a full video production.
Please, for
Mhm.
many kinds of video,
Yeah.
it's far
Right.
more than what you need.
Mhm.
But again, audio is more
Mhm.
important,
Mhm.
as you said.
Right. Yeah, and but and it does make it nice, say for the true professionals, that the cameras have gotten much smaller. When I started my career doing public relations, that we would, and I was with the American Cancer Society, and so we would hold press conferences in various places, and we always had to set it up where the the cameras were corded, right? They had a cord that went back to the truck, and so we had to make sure that we set it up where they could do that. And now, the nice thing is they don't have to, and they don't weigh 20 pounds. I mean, some of those old cameras were just horrible and awful. But yeah, I mean, that's been what is so cool about technology, is to see how much easier it makes a lot of this.
No doubt.
So if somebody's thinking, how do I go about this? If they want to be a filmmaker or they want to do this for business, what are some tips that you tell people, aside from you got to have good audio?
Oh, video content creation in
Yeah.
general, you mean,
Mhm.
regardless of
Yeah.
genre?
Yeah.
Uh, well, to me, there's a right. So I spent years as a television producer
Hmm.
before becoming a talk show
Hmm.
host and reporter and those kinds
Hmm.
of things, and then doing comedy, etc.
Hmm.
But to me, there's a right amount of listening to others,
Hmm.
which is it's not at 0% and it's not 100%. So you need to take in feedback. One trick is to have feedback. If you hear multiple people saying the same thing, then you
Hmm.
need to weight that more
Hmm.
than if it's
Right.
just one person.
Hmm.
And so, but you want, not be, to be just so objective.
Hmm.
It's almost like you become sort of a robot in the sense
Hmm.
of judging your own work,
Hmm.
being like analytical purely,
Hmm.
not overly
Hmm.
critical, but not overly passive either.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you have to just sort of look at it as if it's a different person you're watching and being able to
Okay.
turn off that ego part
Hmm.
of your brain, at least for the moment that you're
Hmm.
watching the work you're doing,
Hmm.
whether it's yourself on camera or not,
Hmm.
to watch your own work with kind of that objectivity, I think
Hmm.
is something that's, I guess maybe it sounds cliche or trite or obvious, but it's a real thing. People have
Hmm.
a hard time
Hmm.
separating their egos
Right.
from analyzing the work that they're doing.
Well, they think it's the best thing in the world. And
Or they hate it
mhm,
so much
mhm,
and they
right.
can't even then,
Hmm.
yeah, it's either
Hmm.
direction. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things, how many times have people done something and then reviewed it and gone, oh no, I can never, but somebody else looking at it goes, wow, this is great. Now I'll be honest, I do not go back and listen to my old podcasts. It's
Okay.
just,
Well, maybe if you're not, maybe you've done
mhm,
them enough that you're
mhm,
not getting anything new out of watching
right.
ones, and
Hmm.
you kind of have your
Hmm.
style down, etc. I think people who are on the air for
Hmm.
years every day, they're not rewatching
Hmm.
last night's show
Hmm.
every day.
Hmm.
So but so there is that.
Hmm.
But I think I mean, I got to tell you, I've been a film festival judge
Hmm.
many times,
Hmm.
and even recently,
Hmm.
it's at least in that genre, it's much
Hmm.
more often people should be more critical of their work rather
Right.
than
You're like,
less.
no, no.
It's more often, yes, they will leave in material that is boring, that
Hmm.
they can't understand why it's
Right.
boring because to them
Yes,
they
they
got
needed
it.
that scene explaining why this was happening.
Right, just scenes where the
Hmm.
plot's not moving forward, the
Hmm.
characters aren't being developed. It's
And we've
just
all seen
sort of.
movies and TV programs like
Well,
that.
yeah, I mean, like I like to say, you really better have earned
Hmm.
that break. Like you better
Hmm.
have thrilled and
Hmm.
excited or
Right.
intrigued your
Hmm.
audience from the
Hmm.
past scenes
Hmm.
so thoroughly
Hmm.
that they need a break
Right.
from all of this
Hmm.
either ideas or
Hmm.
emotions
Hmm.
that you've triggered in them,
Right.
and then you have maybe a little bit of a
Hmm.
break. But so many
Hmm.
films just are
Hmm.
50% break or something like
Right.
that.
Oh
It's
yeah.
way too much.
Well, and I've heard people say the best thing when you're an author of a book is your editor. not you writing it. It's the editor who makes
Yeah.
what you're doing glow.
Yeah. Sure. It's a lot to do with what we said before
Mm-hmm.
about the website and
Mm-hmm.
just getting feedback from
Mm-hmm.
people because, oh, maybe we should create a tutorial
Right.
video instead of
Mm-hmm.
just assuming people
Mm-hmm.
will look around the
Mm-hmm.
menus and figure out where to
Mm-hmm.
click because you know where to
Mm-hmm.
click.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, the feedback says
Mm-hmm.
create a video to actually
Mm-hmm.
show them you clicking it
Right.
on the video.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, same idea. Yeah, but again, it's a balance. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
balance
Mm-hmm.
between how much feedback. But
Mm-hmm.
like general ideas, yeah, so, and I think being original too. Like, I think there's
Mm-hmm.
just, I think oftentimes people are intoxicated with the idea of creating content at all,
Right.
that they don't spend any time
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, like, is this new or different, or is
Yeah.
there a
Do
new
we
way
need
to approach
another
it?
version of Lord of the Rings?
We need right. Yeah, well, the Hollywood addiction to sequels is, yeah, they're basically, it's like sort of
It
some
made
kind of
money once, so let's see if it can make money 10 times. Mm-hmm.
yes, it's some form of industry self
Mm-hmm.
uh, immolation or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they don't want to continue to exist
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
the addiction to sequel. And, and maybe I'll sound like an
Mm-hmm.
old fogey here, but yeah, I do think when I was younger, movies tended to be more original, like
Mm-hmm.
different movies.
Right.
They were
Mm-hmm.
like anyway. Maybe that's just
Mm-hmm.
me, but it seems
Right.
that way.
Right. Well, one of the things I was wondering is kind of where content can come from, because we're talking about podcasts, but a lot of businesses or business people do like live. So Facebook Live, they might do a webinar and record it. Can that be then turned into a video that could be used?
Well, obviously, yeah, you can certainly record anything
Okay.
live that you want and then monetize it as you see
Mm-hmm.
fit on our platform,
Mm-hmm.
VidaFair. Yeah, I think that is a changing
Mm-hmm.
space in that uh, probably more people than ever are
Mm-hmm.
doing live video.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. We don't at VidaFair have a live function yet because
Mm-hmm.
we don't know how to price something that we don't know
Right.
how long it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean, that's the thing. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 50. It could be, oops, they forgot to turn the camera off.
it could be 10 hours,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's not an insurmountable
Mm-hmm.
problem, but it hasn't been
Mm-hmm.
first. We're a startup
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
essentially, so it hasn't been our
Mm-hmm.
first priority to
Right.
handle live, especially launching in the
Mm-hmm.
independent film
Right.
genre as
But
we
yeah,
did.
I was really thinking like a webinar. I charge $10 for somebody to be part of the webinar, and then 15 or 5 to watch it afterwards.
Oh, sure.
And I think that would really be something, because we all say, hey, we've got the recorded version, you can watch it, but you have to have registered. So but there's all those things in there. But yeah, I like that idea of I can, or I can do a Facebook Live or whatever, and didn't catch it live. Well, for $2, here, you can watch it now.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, we're again any content that could
Mm-hmm.
be on YouTube could be
Mm-hmm.
on VidaFair.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that comes back to the free paid. If you want a big audience, then maybe you do the free. But then, for those who weren't able to watch it live or want to watch it again, there's a modest fee for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
So what do you think are some other uses? Like if you had your wish list, what are some of the other things that you're thinking about in the future?
Well, yeah, you covered live already. That's my
Mm-hmm.
usual go-to answer for
Mm-hmm.
this kind of thing, and some things we have not done
Mm-hmm.
yet in terms of video. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I suppose the future could hold all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
ways to the idea of monetizing in
Mm-hmm.
a micropayment
Mm-hmm.
paradigm could be extended to
Mm-hmm.
virtual reality
Mm-hmm.
experiences. It
Mm-hmm.
could be extended to uh, video games where
Mm-hmm.
people are playing
Mm-hmm.
against each other and
Mm-hmm.
competing. Um, it could be extended to really any kind of experience that you pay X amount to
Mm-hmm.
be there in person,
Mm-hmm.
but you could pay another amount that is the online version
Mm-hmm.
of that in-person
Mm-hmm.
experience for almost every
Right.
experience. I mean, you can't really
Mm-hmm.
go bowling. It's not quite the same if it's
Mm-hmm.
online versus physically doing it. But for many things, like to the degree that our ability to virtually
Mm-hmm.
convey the
Mm-hmm.
experience to someone at home or wherever they are in the world,
Mm-hmm.
to me, ought to come with
Mm-hmm.
the implication that it could be monetized through
Mm-hmm.
a micropayment
Mm-hmm.
model.
Right. I love that. Well, oh my gosh, Bob, this has been so much fun. And you've really got my little creative juices and the flowing and thinking, how can I do this? But I'm sure there are other people who are like, hey, this sounds good. So how do they reach you? And, what are the services that you provide?
Well, the services we provide is you upload a video, set your own creator fee. You paid $5.99 as a one-time fee that never repeats. And you can monetize your content, and then you get a link you can send to your friends and followers, and you can advertise as well, as I mentioned. And so then you can make money from your content, video content. And so how do you find us? Well, it's just 8 letters. Some people say VidaFair, which by the way means like life that's fair.
Yes.
And other people say VidaFair, which implies video up there. So it's kind of a double entendre. It means both. We believe kind of fairness is the origin of our platform. Like how we created this was by saying, like, if you were going to create the fairest, if you had a blank sheet of paper and you wanted to create the fairest way to monetize content, fairest both for the content creator and the consumer, how would you do it? And that's how we approach this. So the VidaFair, fairness is in our name. We like to say that. But it's just 8 letters, VidaFair, followed by a .com. If you can type that into a computer, you can just start to learn about our platform. You can watch the tutorial videos to which you referred. And if you have a phone, you can download our iPhone app or our Android app. Just look up VidaFair in those app stores and check us out and go from there. So we're pretty easy to check out and pretty easy to try.
Cool. I love it. I love it. Well, this really has been so much fun. And, I can't wait to talk to you again when you do the next level of whatever it is. And so we will do that. But do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, we're completely accessible. So I'm a real person and our team is real people. And you can, we have a contact page on our website. You can click vidafair.com and then find the contact us on the menu. We'll respond we've always responded within 24 hours to any question. We're happy to answer any questions anybody has. And so I just like to emphasize that like taking on big tech is not easy. We actually need people to support us the same way that content creators need to be supported for their work. So you pay them by renting their video of some kind. We need support too. We're not a big multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. We're a little startup trying to create a way for people to make money from their videos. So we would love everyone's support.
I love it. I love it. Well, I've been having so much fun speaking with Bob Bowdon from VidaFair, however we want to say that. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.